Hello, art friends. My name is Fleshwad, and today I will be reading 3 Valentine's Day stories from Reddit. Huge thank you to these authors/redditors for being a part of my return to YouTube. All links will be posted down below. Before I begin the stories, I am planning on making a question and answers video next. So, if you do have any questions about where I've been or what I've been up to, please comment them down below. And if you have any questions for the future of this channel, also please comment them down below. I am so excited to be making my return. Enjoy. Time I almost got kidnapped or murdered. Posted by u/hiccups Capone in r/let's not meet. This happened when I was in high school, long ago. My mom just recently found the paperwork about it when she cleaned out her office upon retiring from the police department. I remember being upset and scared when it happened, but reading the details as an adult, it sounded even worse than I remembered. I was 17, female, working at a flower and gift shop. It's nighttime. A man comes in, short, overweight, balding, 40s, creepy. He tells me about how he needs an apology gift for his girlfriend, so I offer a bouquet. Obviously, it's a flower shop. He says she doesn't like flowers because they die. This was the first weird thing, as he came into a flower shop. Then he goes into detail about how he hit her and asks me if I think he was right to do so. This was long ago, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines of, "Not if you want her to continue being your girlfriend." He then tells me what a great job I'm doing and asks when I get off of work. I dodge answering, he leaves. Nothing for 6 months. Then, right before Valentine's Day, he walks in the door 1 minute before close. It was dark, and from the outside it looked like I was working alone, as my coworker, about 40, female, was in the bathroom. Instinctively, it felt like a predator had just entered the room. You know when something isn't right, and everything felt not right. I then notice he has a tarnished revolver tucked into the front of his windbreaker, which is halfway unzipped. It was obvious he wanted it seen. I quickly scribbled a note to my coworker that said, "He has a gun," and handed it to her when she came out of the bathroom. She calmly walked to the phone and looked at me, wordlessly asking if she should call the cops. I shook my head no, as I felt it would escalate the situation. God forbid he heard the police coming and took us hostage or something. I was just going to try and act as calm and normal as I could, and hopefully not tip the situation into something more dangerous. He spends 15 minutes wandering around what was a fairly small shop. In retrospect, he was probably waiting to see if my coworker would leave, as it was now well past closing. Finally, he places an order for pickup on Valentine's Day, which gives me his name and info for the police report I'm sure as hell about to file. He buys a card and pulls out a wad of $100 bills, which he slowly thumbs through as though looking for the right one with which to pay for his $40 order. I ask him if he wants a bag, as it wouldn't be very inconspicuous if he just showed up at home with the Valentine's card. He replies, "No, I don't feel like being inconspicuous tonight," which seemed like an obvious reference to the gun hanging out of his coat. He leaves. We quickly lock the door and watch him sit in his truck outside. We were not about to exit the shop until he was gone. Finally, he pulls out of his parking spot and moves to another spot further away and continues to just sit there. I don't know how long we waited, but he finally left. I called my mom crying. She called the police, who came to the shop the next day to take a report. I told my best friend at the time what happened. She told her mother. Her mother happened to work with the man and informed security at her job. She said he was very weird, creepy, and liked to talk about weapons a lot. Security at his job, it's a large company with government contracts and things having to deal with tech and security, pulled him into the office and questioned him about it. He claimed it was a glove in his pocket, not a revolver. The police were pissed that his company made contact with him about it before they did. Then he successfully dodged the cops' multiple calls and visits to his apartment. My mom, much to my teen fury at the time, made me quit my job, which was devastating as I loved it there. In retrospect, totally the right call. Dude came in on Valentine's Day and picked up his order. I never saw him again. My town believed in a Valentine's Day monster. Posted by U/02321 in r/no sleep. I've been single my entire life. I really don't mind it. It's just how I've always been. And yet, I still buy Valentine's candy and a card every year. That simple thing saves my life. I moved to a small town right before starting high school. It was difficult trying to make new friends and adjusting to an entirely new place at the same time. By the time February rolled around, I was finally feeling as if I'd gotten into the groove of things. I had only made a handful of friends and, to my shock, the first time I was ever asked out on a date was a week before Valentine's Day. I felt awkward going out with a girl who had never spoken with before, so I turned her down. She got angry, claiming she had other options and was just being nice. That might be the case, but her extreme reaction confused me. When I was able to, I asked my friend Travis about it. "Oh yeah, you die if you're single on Valentine's Day. Get your heart ripped out and everything. So find a girlfriend for the day," he explained, and I scoffed at the idea. "Come on, you don't expect me to believe that, do you?" I asked, thinking he was just pulling a joke on the new kid. He acted as if he was just giving me some facts. He was looking at me as if I was crazy for not knowing about getting a date or dying. I told him he was crazy, but he just shook his head. "It happens every year. Someone gets their heart ripped out. It might not be in this town, but it's nearby, and it's always someone single. I guess you can risk it, but why? It's just one day," he said, trying to defend his point. This was before everyone had a cell phone in their pocket, so I couldn't look up deaths of people missing their hearts right then. I made a note to research it later, so I could call him out on his urban legend. I crossed my arms, still not buying what he was saying. "That's stupid. Are you saying, what, someone knows you're single and kills you?" I pressed. "A person doesn't do it. Some sort of monster does. No one has lived after seeing it, but people said they heard drums and then found someone without their heart." Travis was again looking at me as if I should know all of this. "A Valentine's Day monster. Really? Well, Christmas has Santa, and there's an Easter bunny, so why can't Valentine's Day have something?" For the next 10 minutes, I roasted his idea and belief in the Valentine's Day monster. At least he could take it all as a joke, even if he did believe the murders were real. He wasn't positive a monster was doing it, but he couldn't offer up any other reason behind the deaths. And he wasn't risking it. He already had a date lined up with a girl he didn't even like. I still thought the entire idea was dumb. The rest of the school didn't share my outlook. As the days slowly got closer and closer to the fated day, the students got paired up with each other. Some done out of safety, others using the monster as an excuse to finally ask out their crush. I received a few pity offers, but I refused all of them as an act of rebellion against this stupid small town's tradition. I just watched as everyone started dating in fear of death. The store sold out of candy and cards pretty quick. Normally, everywhere would be flooded with red and pink products. The shelves were barren a few days before the 14th. Now I refused to accept any offers, and I didn't plan on asking someone out either. The school offered a program where you could buy sweetheart candies to be delivered to class for a small fee. I didn't mind getting my new friends one each, all while making up silly names to put on the card of who they would receive it from. It was the only thing related to the whole day I gave into, aside from buying a box of chocolates for myself. The chocolates were just a normal box of assorted types from the grocery store I'd gotten with some money made from doing chores. When I bought them, the cashier slapped a heart-shaped sticker on my box, without my permission, a small one for someone to write who the box was meant for. With how crazy this town was over the holiday, I didn't blame her. By that time, I'd been so overexposed to anything Valentine related, just seeing the sticker put me off eating the chocolates. I shoved them into my backpack to forget about them until after the 14th was over. I really wish I had taken the entire thing a bit more seriously. It wasn't until the night before Valentine's Day that I finally looked up the murders, finding them to be true. Dread started to form in my stomach as I scrolled through the library's computer after school while waiting for my father to pick me up. I didn't find all the mysterious deaths, but enough to make me worried. 3 people were found with their hearts missing. The police said that from the state of their bodies, they were killed on Valentine's Day, even though their bodies weren't found right away. An entire town was warning me about this, and yet I still sat in shock after finding out it was true. My father finally got me from school, but told me I needed to walk home the next day. I sat in the car, silently debating on what to do. He just chalked up my distressed state as normal teenage behavior. I didn't sleep that night. I tried thinking of names of students that might not have a date, all while knowing it was useless. When the clock turned to midnight, and it was officially the 14th, I nearly had a panic attack, convinced the monster would swoop in to take my heart. The only way I got through that night without a mental breakdown was to shift my train of thought back to what it was before looking up the murders. A Valentine's Day monster was stupid. It wasn't real. Some heartless store manager saw the murders and made up the story to sell more products through fear. That was it. It had to be. I remained awake all night. In the morning, my mother noticed how I looked and offered to let me stay home. I refused, secretly hoping I could find a date if I went to school. The place was abuzz with new couples and gift exchanges. As I walked down the hallway, a few students looked at me with pity in their eyes. Most knew my single stance and how it would be the monster's top choice if it was real. No one went near me that day, if they could help it. My few new friends awkwardly tried to find reasons to rush off if I tried talking to them. All of them having temporary new girlfriends gave them a good enough reason to be left out. My candy heart prank wasn't funny. Some thought it was, but I couldn't find the humor in anything that day. Instead, I spent it looking over my shoulder, expecting to hear drums at any second. The bell finally rang and Travis was brave enough to walk over to me for a chat. I think he thought this was going to be our last conversation. The idea got him motivated enough to walk over, but not to find the words. "Do you, want to come over? I'm going out today, but maybe we can hang out beforehand. There's a really good show, and..." He trailed off, feeling awkward. "It's fine. I'll just chill at home. My parents are going out and won't be home until after dinner, so I have the entire place to myself. That never happens. They finally think I'm old enough to be trusted to be left alone," I explained, determined to still not believe in this nonsense, even though I was terrified. Travis nodded, looking pale. He wasn't brave enough to press me on hanging out. After all, he was certain I was going to die that night. He didn't want to be around to see it. "I'll talk to you tomorrow," I said, and gave him a shaky wave. He gave one back and started to hurry over to his new girlfriend. When you're a teenager, everything is a big deal. As I walked away from school towards home, I felt like I was walking towards my own death. The sky was overcast. It made me feel even more gloomy. I kept mocking myself for my mood as I walked along the neighborhoods that had become familiar to me over the past few months. Finding a small rock, I started to kick it as I walked, trying to take my mind off of the fear in my chest. A car started to drive along behind me with such loud music I could hear it thumping through the air. I watched it cruise by, a bit annoyed over the sound. If you're going to blast music, at least play something good and not something that just thudded. As the car kept going down the street, the music went with it, but a hint of the thudding remained. I stopped, confused on why I could still hear the sound of the car if it was so far. When it finally turned out of sight, I realized the car wasn't the source of all of the noise. My heart started to beat so fast and hard. It matched the thudding rhythm that I could swear was getting closer and closer. I didn't look behind me or even get angry at myself for getting scared. I just ran down the street. I should have ran up to one of the houses asking for help. I was so frightened, nothing rational came to mind. I ran like crazy, all while that beating followed. I wished this was a prank, but didn't stop running to find out. My mind was unable to work as my lungs burned from the mad dash. For a moment, I thought I was losing whatever was chasing me. I stumbled, nearly falling over a crooked sidewalk square in front of my house. I couldn't tell how close the thumping sound was over my own heart. Sweat poured down my face, and I felt faint. I slammed into my front door, banging on it before I remembered my parents were out. I nearly screamed in frustration. The door was locked, and my keys were buried under my books inside my backpack. That thudding sound was all I heard. It was so close, it rumbled in my chest. My hand shook as I fumbled to get the zipper open. I was scared to death, and I couldn't keep my eyes open. Squeezing them shut, I felt around in my bag for the key. My hand brushed against it when a puff of wind came across my face. I smelled something sweet, and then the wind came again. To my horror, my mind clued into the fact that it wasn't the wind, but something breathing on my face. It was too late. Even if I got my key, I couldn't unlock the door before whatever brought the heart-thumping sound took my heart too. I refused to open my eyes to see the monster I now knew to be real. I love the sound of your heart. It's a shame it's alone. Let me add it to the others. The voice that spoke wasn't some prank. It was twisted, and beyond anything a human could make. My mind was racing. I felt the sharp tip of a claw poke my chest, leaving a small cut through my shirt. A cruel laugh came as I whimpered in fear. With my hand still in my backpack, I felt something that was not my books or my house key. A crazy idea came to my mind. It was either that or death. So I grabbed a hold of the only thing I could think of. Yanking the box of chocolates from my bag, I held it out to the monster I still refused to see. My voice strained and shaking, I asked it a question I prayed would save my life. Will you be my Valentine this year? My heart beat nearly out of my chest. Opening my eyes a crack, I could see the box in my hand, but not the creature that brought along the countless heartbeats that mixed in with my own. I should have died. Instead of clawing out my heart, the twisted hand, with razor-sharp nails, reached out and took the box. I forced my eyes shut, my entire body shaking. Something brushed my face, causing me to tense up so much it hurt. That clawed finger brushed some hair from my face, with another cruel laugh. What a cute child you are. I'll accept this gift this year, but someday I'll be back to claim your heart. I bit down on my tongue, trying not to scream at that horrible voice. With one final laugh that rattled my bones, the thudding stopped. It took me forever before I gathered up the courage to open my eyes. Nothing was on the front step. I was alone. If it wasn't for the rip in my shirt, I would have thought the whole thing came about due to stress and lack of sleep. I didn't tell anyone what happened. I mean, who would believe me? I went to school for the first half of the day on the 15th. I had barely slept for 2 days and needed to take the rest of the day off. But I didn't want my friends to think I died. All of them looked shocked I'd lived. I just said I got lucky. The school moved on. The short-lived relationships caused by that day fizzed out. As time crept along, I started to dread knowing Valentine's Day was coming yet again. I bought more candy, roses, and a card, expecting a visit from the monster. I should have just gone along and dated someone, but somehow the idea of it was more stressful than dealing with a monster. I anticipated and feared Valentine's Day, only to have nothing happen. Nothing happens, besides the fact that the gifts I addressed to the creature go missing overnight. As the years carried on, I kept buying different gifts, with the same result. As I've gotten older, I've heard those terrible heartbeats faintly on Valentine's Day. Each year, the sound gets louder. I think this year is finally going to be when that monster shows itself. Again, just asking someone out may save my life. But I think if the monster does show up, I'll ask it the question yet again. But this time, I will keep my eyes open. I suspect my husband is cheating. When I find her, I'm going to kill her. Posted by u/ForgottenWell in r/short scary stories. When I first met my husband, it was like a comet fell from heaven and pierced my heart. It was fate. In 2 weeks, we were married. It's been almost a decade since. So many beautiful memories. In my darker moments, I anxiously imagined the world taking him from me, a car accident, cancer. I imagined losing him and could only think of killing myself rather than facing the world without him. I love him so much, and I suspect he's cheating on me. I don't have proof yet, but let's face it, we know everything about each other. Every dirty little secret, and he's been up to something. Several times he's claimed to be running some mundane errand. He takes longer than he should, and when he comes back, he's obviously hiding something. That's the thing about being brutally honest for 10 years. My husband is horrible at lying. So this time, when he told me he had to go inspect some snowblowers, that it might take some time, I decided to follow him, which wasn't easy. He was clearly watching his back. When he arrived at some stranger's house, I parked down the block and waited. He was there for about an hour. I quelled my anger and grabbed my knife and pliers. I won't tell you what the pliers are for. After he left, I walked up like I owned the place. The front door was unlocked. Can you believe that? I was going to kill that cheating jerk. When I got to the bedroom, I saw her. Holy... She was hanging from a noose, still swinging slightly back and forth. She was fresh. Not more than 30 minutes dead. Oh, shoot. I quickly but calmly got the hell out of there. Didn't want to leave any evidence. I drove the speed limit home. My husband was in the shower. I waited in our bedroom to confront him. He entered, still dripping, towel tight around his six-pack. Where'd you go? You've been killing women? I curtly accused. Without me? Love, how could you? What, you don't like killing with me anymore? That's our special thing. We're supposed to do it together. No, I love doing it with you. Is that what all of this sneaking about has been? God, I thought you were cheating. I would never. Love, it's not what you think. Well, what is it? Start talking. Fine. He threw up his arms and began rummaging through the closet. It was supposed to be a surprise. He held out a jewelry box and opened it. Inside was an opulent gold chain with 9 polished molars threaded through the chain. I know you love molars, baby. Haven't quite finished the last molar. Only just got it, but happy 10-year anniversary. How could I have been so blind? I apologized profusely and kissed my perfect husband. I'm all riled up. What do you say we kill someone tonight? Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there are any themes of stories that you would like me to read on this channel, or any other kind of videos you'd like to see. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video. Bye.